So today I'm going to be showing you how you can quick and easily process your drum on the Behringer Wing console. So without wasting too much time, let's dive in. So by my left, I have my system playing from a visual. So this is a visual playback from my system. So let's dive in. So like I said, and it's very necessary, you need to set your gain staging for every instrument. So for my kick here is okay. I just had to set it a little bit to with the digital trim, because that is what you normally have when you are doing a visual playback. So I have minus 1.8 of digital trim I applied to be in between the minus 12 and minus 24. That is where we have our first green meeting our first yellow, which is approximately minus 18, I think. Yeah. So how I process it, my drum, the first thing after my gain staging is I normally go for my compressors. Other people have their own approach, but here is my approach, and many people do use it. So it depends on how and what you want. So let's go to our compressor. So on my compressor, I had to look for, instead of just controlling the dynamics, I also have to look for having this unique character on my drum. So I applied a release of 80, hold, I didn't touch, I hardly touched the hold, attack to 40, then ratio to 5 to 1 ratio, knee 1, then threshold about minus 35.0. That is where I set my threshold. So I added a makeup gain of 3. So let's on it. So without the makeup gain, you see when the compressor is off is louder, but when the compressor is on is a bit quieter. So that is the reason why I had to add a makeup gain to go back to the normal volume we were before. So there's my kick. Okay. Alright, we have a whole tons of compressors that you can use, but for this basic mix, for this basics, I'm going to be using the normal compressor that came with it. So bear with me. So the next thing I dive into is my gates. So on my gate, I have a release of 142. Hold, I close the hold because it's my is my kick, and it's very close to my sub, side feet sub and side feet up. So I need it to close immediately. As you can hear from the background, you can hear a whole lot of background noise. So on my attack, I need a fast attack. Then range, I still need it. I still need it to have the signal to have easy access, so that whenever the drum is playing, it wouldn't be very hard for it to come in, the signal to come into the gate. So I want it to have an easy access, and just for us not to start losing some character on the drum. So I set my range to about 16 dB, then my gate, then threshold minus 12. So this is what we got. So at least getting is not only to just remove everything completely, but also just to control the amount of signal background noise coming into the signal. Let's say I just decide, okay, let me close it completely. We lose a whole lot of signals. So all I need to do is just release it. Just reduce the amount of background noise. So watch, a whole lot of background noise. So because of this amount of background noise that I'm having, in the process of getting it, I intend to also lose some volume on the kick, but it's fine, it's okay to me. So from my gate, we dive into our EQ. So our EQ session, we look for So frequency to drop. Okay, like this. 400, 410, 400. Okay. 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 On our EQ. Okay. Add a little low. Let's go back to our gate and add. Release. Then here. So this is how I process my drum. Easy way to process my drum. There are other advanced way that you can also do it. There are more advanced and more professional way you can also do it, but this is a quick and fastest way that you can just dive into your console and move in. If you notice, I didn't apply a low cut. I needed not to apply a low cut. Sometimes it depends. I can still say, okay, I want to apply. I can apply to about, let's apply to about 30. So remove the rumbleness there. Okay, a little bit bite. Okay. So let's go now to our snare drum. First, our gain staging. Second, we go to our compressor. I'm going to be leaving the release. I'll still use my 5:1 ratio. You can choose to use any ratio. It's not much to use what I'm actually using here. The snare, attack 25. I leave my hold, then I dial in my So like I said, apart from also controlling your dynamics, compressors also give characters to your instrument. So just look at how it changed the tone of this snare. Just let's off it. Let's on it. Very nice. Low, so we need to add back our makeup gain a little. Then a little bit gating. I don't need much here. So release, let's say 150, hold, attack, okay. Release, we have a whole lot of background noise on the snare, a whole lot of it because the cycling top is very close to it, but so no. So that we can have the transient a little bit more. So that is the reason why I'm adding 300 milliseconds of release. So let's see, let's drop it first. This cymbal is bleeding in. Okay. So next we dive into our EQ. I don't have much of low end here, but I need to apply a low cut because I'm having some bass guitar bleeding in to the mic. So I need to remove that. So the fundamental frequency of this snare is about 200 to 250. So that is fundamental frequency. So we tend not to temper with it for the moment. Let's remove some frequencies, some boxiness, and some bad unwanted frequency that we don't need on this snare. We have so let's add a little depth. Gate. No, the gate is really affecting the transient. Okay. 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 So I have to release the threshold of the gate a little bit. So let's hear it with the kick. Okay, so so all right, so that is how easily you can also process your drum, your kick and snare. So today we're going to be doing the kick and snare only with the snare bottom. So let's treat the snare bottom. So, sound is so beautiful. But let's see, it's sounding really bad. It's sounding bad, but let's see what we can do. So first of all, we set our then compressor, slow release, a very fast attack, hold, now release, the ratio. So I don't need to have a depth on this snare bottom because I already have it on my snare top. Okay, then our makeup gain. Then a little bit EQ expander. I think I will just use an expander. I will just use an expander. So with the expander, I'm just going to use it to reduce the background noise. Okay, without the gate. So we have our EQ, apply a low cut, remove some bad frequency, remove a whole lot of bad frequency here. The harshness, let's deal with the harshness. Then a little bit air. So yeah, let's hear it with this snare. So if you notice, I'm having what we call a cancellation. The depth, how you know you have cancellation phase issue here is the snare top is losing its depth. So I need to bring it back to, I need to invert the snare because I'm having a cancellation between my snare top and snare bottom. So let's invert and see what happens. You see, now the snare is back alive now, so we can now balance with the kick now together. Let's see. Okay, okay, I think for the meantime we are good with this, and I hope this helps you out. If you have any question, you can go ahead and drop on your comment section. This is not the best. This is a quick approach, like I said, that you can dive into and figure out something. So see you some other time.